The first time Marcus saw her, she was giving away her lunch. Not offering politely, not making a show of charity, just quietly handing her brown paper, bag to the trembling hands of an elderly woman, sitting outside the subway entrance on Fifth Avenue. He watched from across the street as the young woman smiled, said something that made the old woman's face crack into 1,000 grateful lines, and walked away with nothing but an empty coffee cup and the kind of lightness in her step that suggested she'd just received something, instead of giving it away. Marcus had lived in New York City for 37 years, and he'd learned to look past people. It was survival, really. You couldn't carry the weight of 8 million stories on your shoulders every single day. But something about her made him pause, made him miss his train, made him wonder what kind of person moves through the world like that. He didn't know her name, didn't know where she worked or where she lived or what her story was. He only knew that every Tuesday and Thursday morning at exactly 7:47 a.m., she emerged from the brownstone on the corner of West 73rd, walked 3 blocks to the subway, and somewhere in those 3 blocks, she found someone to help. Not always with food. Sometimes it was her scarf on a cold morning, wrapped around the shoulders, of a young mother struggling with twins, in a broken stroller. Sometimes it was her umbrella pressed into the hands of a soaked delivery driver. Once Marcus watched her take off her shoes, her brand new white sneakers that still had the shop stiffness to them, and give them to a teenage boy whose own sneakers were held together with duct tape and hope. She walked the rest of the way barefoot, her stockinged feet padding against the concrete like it was the most natural thing in the world. Marcus started arriving early on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He told himself it was coincidence, that his schedule had simply shifted, but he knew the truth. He needed to see her, needed to understand how someone could give so freely in a city that took and never seemed satisfied. His own life had become a careful equation of transactions. Time for money, money for comfort, comfort for the illusion of happiness. He'd built a successful career in finance, climbed every ladder placed before him, and somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten what it felt like to do something for no reason other than it was good. Watching her reminded him. Watching her hurt, actually, in a way that felt both uncomfortable and necessary. It was a Thursday in October when everything changed. Marcus was at his usual spot, pretending to read his phone while actually watching her brownstone door. The leaves were turning, painting the street in shades of amber and rust, and there was that particular crispness in the air that made New York feel almost magical. She came out right on time, but something was different. Her usual bright energy seemed dimmed. Her shoulders curved inward, protective. She walked with her head down, and Marcus felt an unexpected pang of concern. He followed at a distance, maintaining the pretense of a fellow commuter heading in the same direction. She walked past the elderly woman who was usually at the subway entrance, past the corner where the young mother often struggled with her twins. She walked like she was trying to outpace something invisible and heavy. At the intersection of Columbus and 70th, she stopped, just stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, while people flowed around her like water around a stone. Marcus watched her shoulders shake, watched her lift a hand to her face, and he realized she was crying. Something broke in him then. All those weeks of watching, of keeping his distance, of being a passive observer in the story of her kindness. He crossed the street, his heart hammering, unsure of what he was doing, but certain he couldn't walk away. "Excuse me," he said softly, stopping a respectful distance away. "I'm sorry to bother you, but are you okay?" She looked up, startled, her eyes red-rimmed and bright with tears. She was younger than he'd thought, maybe late 20s, with the kind of face that seemed designed to hide sadness. "I'm fine," she said automatically, the lie evident in every syllable. "Thank you." "You don't look fine." The words came out before he could stop them. "Sorry, that sounded... I just mean, I've seen you around the neighborhood. You're always helping people. Maybe someone should ask if you need help." Her laugh was brittle. "That's funny. You've seen me helping people, so you think I'm the one who needs help? I think people who spend all their time taking care of others sometimes forget to leave anything for themselves." The truth of it seemed to hit her physically. Her face crumpled and fresh tears spilled over. "My mom died last night," she whispered. "I've been at the hospital since yesterday afternoon, and I don't know why I left my apartment. I don't know where I'm going. I just couldn't sit in that empty space anymore." Marcus felt his own throat tighten. "I'm so sorry. She was my person, you know. The reason I the reason I try to be good. She always said that kindness was the rent we paid for living on this earth. That if you had the capacity to help, you had the responsibility to do it. She wiped her face with shaking hands. I don't know how to be good without her here to see it. And there it was, the truth that Marcus had been circling for weeks. She wasn't some superhuman saint, some naturally perfect person who floated above the pain of regular existence. She was someone who'd been taught to be kind, who'd made it a practice, a discipline, a way of honoring someone she loved. She saw it, Marcus said firmly. Every single act. And she's still seeing it, whatever you believe about what comes after. But you know what? Maybe it's time you did it for yourself, too. Not just because it's what she taught you, but because you deserve the same kindness you give everyone else. She stared at him, and he felt suddenly exposed, as if he'd revealed more than he intended. Who are you? She asked. My name's Marcus. I work at the Starbucks on 72nd. I've been watching you for weeks now, and before you think that's creepy, I just mean you changed something for me. Made me remember there's more to life than just getting through it. He took a breath. Can I buy you breakfast? Nothing weird, just you shouldn't be alone right now. And maybe you could tell me about her. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then slowly, she nodded. They went to a diner on Amsterdam, one of those old-school places with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since 1975. She told him about her mother, a nurse who'd worked double shifts to raise her alone, who'd packed 2 lunches every day so she'd have one to give away. She told him about the kindness she'd witnessed growing up, the small mercies her mother had shown to patients and strangers alike. And Marcus told her about himself, about the emptiness of success without purpose, about the mornings he'd spent watching her, learning from her, remembering what it meant to be human. I don't even know your name, he said finally, smiling through the heaviness of their conversation. It's Sarah, she said. My name is Sarah. Well, Sarah, I have a proposal. Marcus leaned forward. Your mom was right about kindness, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So here's what we're going to do. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we help people together. And on the other days, we help you. Deal? She laughed, a real laugh this time, watery but genuine. That's the strangest proposal I've ever heard. Is that a yes? She looked at him, really looked at him, and Marcus felt seen in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Yeah, she said. It's a yes. Over the following months, they became an unlikely team. Marcus learned that kindness wasn't about grand gestures or life-changing amounts of money. It was about seeing people, really seeing them, and responding to what they needed. Sarah learned that accepting help wasn't weakness, that letting people in was its own form of courage. They started small. Coffee for the mail carrier on cold mornings, quarters for expired parking meters, umbrellas left on subway seats on rainy days. But the impact rippled outward in ways they couldn't have predicted. People started paying it forward. The elderly woman at the subway entrance began sharing her own food with others. The young mother started a neighborhood parent support group. The teenage boy with the duct-taped sneakers started volunteering at a youth center. A year later, Marcus and Sarah were standing at that same intersection where they'd first spoken, watching the neighborhood they'd quietly helped transform. The brownstone where Sarah lived had a new mural painted by local kids, depicting hands reaching out to other hands, an endless chain of connection. She'd be proud of you, Marcus said quietly. Of us, Sarah corrected. This was never just about me. And she was right. It never had been. It had been about 2 people remembering what it meant to be human, to see each other not as obstacles or transactions or background noise, but as fellow travelers deserving of kindness, especially when they couldn't find it in themselves. The city moved around them, 8 million stories unfolding simultaneously, but in that moment, they understood something profound, that we save each other. Not with grand gestures or heroic sacrifices, but with small, consistent acts of seeing and being seen, with the willingness to say, I notice you, you matter. Let me help. Her mother had been right. Kindness was the rent we paid for living on this earth. But what she'd discovered, what they'd discovered together, was that it was also the currency of connection, the foundation of community, and the closest thing to magic this world had to offer. And it all started with her?